All right, welcome everyone today to Dynasty the Podcast Show. I am your host, Ira Thomas Bush the Fourth. I just want to say welcome to it's a great day today. We got a lot of stuff done. We went to a very this funny thing. I'm gonna tell you like this. We have been being very consistent. I just want to say I appreciate everyone listening and tuning in. Shout out to my parents, my grandparents, my child, my daughter, my niece and nephews. I appreciate y'all greatly. Hopefully y'all staying on point with your schoolwork, and you being consistent in those areas. Don't allow nobody to affect your judgment. Don't allow nobody to get you off your position in whatever you may be doing right now. I got up like any other day early this morning. ate breakfast, and I already was expecting. Today is a great day because I get to go to the dentist for the first time in a while. So, and it's gonna be in my favor, just the fact that I get to go in there. Now, to get down to business, we're gonna be discussing, the hearing. To complete my intro, I want to say this. I went to the hearings in the Senate buildings, down on Capitol Hill, wherever y'all may call it, in Washington D.C. And it was a lot of strength and power today outside. In their own right. I know people. I know how much I have to overcome, far as people believing in what I'm speaking on or what I'm saying, or people might just not want to interfere with what I'm trying to do, or because they don't know exactly how I'm coming every day. So I don't mind either way. But hopefully, I'm glad the message of the youthfulness is coming out and people are actually stepping out and being productive. And it started off right this morning. I got up. I was the first one of the top three people in line, and then it followed by a group of young ladies. They came from all the way from California, from Stanford University, and they all were ready to go in. And I think when I read the itinerary of what the hearing was going to be about, they called it Arctic frost. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's about, these are scientists, by the way. These are scientists from Stanford. So I'm having a conversation with them about, it being about, just the changing of, probably like something to do with the atmosphere, something to do with climate change, or how the effects of this or that. I'm going into that mindset because I can operate on all those levels, because that's the original thing they teach you, is what is about the water, the ecosystem, and whatnot. That's the original thing you learn in elementary school, and then it's up to you to continue it, because it's one of the most important things, just like the study of your body, and which is what I was asking them about. I was like, do y'all understand? I stem cell research, and then one scientist was like, well, I don't do too much of that, but I do like it. And then they was like, we studied this instead of that. I was like, oh, this is cool, because I'm excited about you younger ladies being in position to control a lot of things in the world. And this is what I'm excited about. Cause I'm thinking in my head, my child and my niece are about the same type of, wavelength of, being growing. One of my nieces already in politics, and I think she's gearing up. But I kind of predicted that, and I'm glad she came down here already. But it's just and my child is very interested in reading and science as well, and she likes knowing. She likes learning things, and she has a very what do you call it? She's very, when you ask a lot of when you're interested, when you have that sense of wanting to learn new things. And that's how my daughter is, and I'm pretty sure she's still like that. So I'm glad I was able to speak to those young ladies. They were all dressed very fly and very nice, very professional, so shout out to them. And I got to speak with them, so that was pretty cool. And I try to remember one of the young ladies. She came in, she had like her all white outfit. It was so cool. I was like, okay, y'all stepping out, And she was like, and then I remember her first name, but I don't want to, I don't know them. So I'm gonna look everybody up. They scientists. I'm like, these are people that I want to connect with in the future. These people are still students, so I'm like, they might develop something that could change the world. And I'm like, I got to speak with them at the hearing. but I don't think they was, what ended up happening to continue, because I went in, they went in, and what ended up happening, this was a hearing about basically the FBI, Robert whatever his name, Mueller. I don't want to disrespect his family. His last name was Mueller. He was an FBI investigator, or whatever his position was at the end of it. They're having a hearing about other investigators, FBI agents, and the president. I'm not liking how the president was using ICE agents, and when they stormed the Capitol, and just to give you the basic drop of what this was about. The hearing, it was called Arctic Frost, and they basically call it Ted Cruz called it right out the gate. He said this is the modern day Watergate. And what I would like to say about stuff being said like that, because if you don't know, I would do a little spew on. He basically gave a rundown, a summary of what. Let me read what Ted Cruz said. He gave a summary of what the Watergate was. He basically gave it from a standpoint of from a good old boy and a Ku Klux Klan member version of what Watergate meant, because there was two sides to it. Basically, they went against Nixon because he was exposing things, because he was getting exposed by other things, and this was not detailed because FBI was giving out information, and the technology of giving out information was completely different. They all run in the same circle, and this is basically what was happening at this hearing. The person that they were attacking was what's the guy name? They kept saying his name Smith. What his name? I wrote it down. His last name was Smith. Basically, the guy who was helping Jack Smith. They were basically attacking his character. They were blaming the people that he was representing him, and they had these people. Now I put everybody on, everybody that attended that I seen, because people don't understand how I operate. I don't need to judge you based off the people that I heard speak. Ted Cruz. And the guy, I don't know if his name is really Whitehouse. His name was Mr. Whitehouse. So I thought he was being funny by saying he's a representation of the president or something, but it might be his last name. I try not to get. Look, I know what my senators are. Look, I know the two senators from the state of Florida now. I know Senator Scott, and then I know now it's Senator Moody, Miss Moody, and these people that represent Florida. Both of them do a very lackadaisical job of representing black Americans in Florida. They both have this very arrogant sense of, this is me talking about my state. They have this very arrogant sense that white power is supposed to control Florida because it's based in the South, but they don't know their historic, and I'm pretty sure both of their backgrounds and their parents and their grandparents are not even from the state of Florida. So they had this very arrogant sense from the East Coast version of it, of them coming down, being Florida born or whatever they Florida made or whatever mindset they have, or went to college there, being able to get positioned in there. It's all this mindset that they could control somebody's mind and tell them what to do, and it's a very slave mentality type of, this hence why I'm actually down here trying to get my stuff and my name and the disrespect on my family's name both times, on my mom and father's side. And the way that they try to test tube and touch subject my grandparents, I don't agree with at all. And I'm going to speak on that. That's why I was speaking to the scientists today. I just asked them about stem cell research, because I know how high up and how much they want to know about my family tree, and I'll be talking about that. I talk about it in so many ways, but I'm not a scientist. I was telling them, but I do know a little bit. But let's continue on what the hearing was about. So it's basically what he was saying, that there's infiltration in the FBI, and there's infiltration in the government, and they were basically it was a day to pick on Donald Trump and the cabinet that still support him, which is not very many people by what I could tell. They pretty much are going against him. I don't know how, but it's not really like they're going against him. It's more like they don't want him to. it's like they want to put a facade on that everybody's against him, so they can retaliate in some kind of manner to the people who really don't like them. None of them, because all they are, it was so defensive. This is what I wrote down when I heard them talk, and I'm gonna read the stats that I gave. I'm gonna read the stuff that they were saying. It says, the bureau. Oh no, that's from somebody else. Let me read theirs. The person who spoke with the most sense was Senator Mr. Grassley. These are some of the stuff he said. July of 2022, based on whistleblowers, the public has the right to know where the government money is being spent. So he's basically talking about them doing this investigation and whose money, because there was more information put out today for public to know. The new information is being released today um, on the this is they call it the code for it is the Arctic frost. That's what the code word for this whole case. And this is some of the stats that he wrote. He said he's gotten info from over 400 Republican groups um, into the news, which was why they're revealing this information. They don't want to continue to ask questions about this situation. They don't want to continue to ask questions about these. This is basically stemming from the Epstein files. All this stuff is cracking. They're calling it something different now. They're branching off and calling it something different. All these people are good old boys. Some of these people that call themselves good old boys don't understand that they're a branch of the Ku Klux Klan. The FBI, by J. Edgar Hoover's standpoints, was the group of Ku Klux Klan members with the clean face, without they could do all these evil stuff behind scenes, which I talk about all the time. It's just coming to the forefront of it. They're trying to blame Jack Smith, and we can't do too much if we want to have any kind of respect left in the United States of America if we blame the president that's in the sitting chair. So we're gonna have to wait because he had that many felony charges that he did not get arrested or go to prison for, and they let him go right back into office. It shouldn't be no reason why somebody like who they just let free. We could put Big Meech in as the United States president now. Whatever they tried to say about him, he came out, he did his time. Now let's go put somebody that we want to put in there. That they tried to. It wasn't even that it was the blacks that was putting this kind of this energy towards BMF. I'm giving it an example of it. It's the popularity though. It's the influence. So they got somebody pent up in the president's role, and I'm not saying it like this. I'm just giving y'all an example. The BMF name is still on TV. It's still a show. Like it wasn't really taken down. It was just delayed. It was somebody that started something that they wanted to not be able to have influence on the world, and that's just simply they made him bigger than he probably the attention he wanted he got, but he had to go do time for it. The attention with 34 felonies and not getting in trouble is a slap in the black and brown community face, which is why I do my show, because I get tried about. Man, I just went to I want to stay on track about the hearing because I don't want to lose focus. But that was just a what is the word for it? That's just another way of me showing you how they use white power and white supremacy, and they try to make examples of people. So let me continue to what they were saying and speaking on today before I get off topic about celebrating people and hopefully wishing people the best or whatnot. People might go against me for saying that, but that's just how it looks to me. Now let's go right into what Ted Cruz then was yelling about. Ted Cruz and Mr. White House. Early advisors started investigation against the standing presidents. Democratic and Republican had 197 subpoenas, 430 Republicans, organizations, and individuals were targeted. This is the information he was given. He mentioned that his main source of what he represent. His pillar was threatened and targeted by this FBI. The FBI took information for 20% of the senators. These men are so-called. These men are actually, to me, they so-called. They're members, whatever. But these are active Ku Klux Klan members. Whether they believe it or not, whether they understand it or not, the people standing behind you all do activity that's very disrespectful in the community, and these are their underlings that's sitting behind them as well. I don't know their name, but eventually one day they want to get a position, and I'm not going to let y'all just sit back and not tell y'all about my generation too. So they do some of the most creep and corrupt things, and then go out there and tell the police, "Oh, they did this though, but why did they get to do this?" Before you get started, they start messing up your organization. They mess up your company. They don't target your young kids. Y'all here shooting up my kids with your police officers and stuff. All kind of stuff that happen when it comes to me sporting in the community and coaching that I haven't even been able to stand up and defend them properly. And this is a chance halfway, but it's gonna be in a bigger way because the way I speak to them, I don't want them to feel second fiddle to nobody, especially if you don't have the intelligence to just compete in between the lines, and when the whistle blow, you go home and mind your business. Because the way I'm gonna repeat this, the way the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence is written for white supremacy, white power, Ku Klux Klan, the Bible, the same kind of thing. If y'all study, the Bible is not the original version of the religion that they're talking about. It was created by a slave owner or slave masters or whatever they was calling themselves at the time, or kings and queens or whatnot. They was going off, they put it in the movie, they put it in the show, they put it in, and they put it in. Oh, you go leave this country, you're gonna go to museums, you're gonna go to exhibits, and they're gonna talk about the most powerful people, and it won't be nobody described. It will be several versions of people talking about in that Bible. So it's a reference. I don't want people to get caught up in this loophole to be controlled by white supremacy. That's the main thing, is why the message is getting to me, because they was all sitting up there mad and defensive, and y'all in position of power, but y'all mad because y'all got caught trying to sleep with little kids, and y'all got caught on cheating on your wives and killing black and brown people, going to this country to starting up this war. This is why y'all mad. Y'all got caught doing that, and y'all sitting up here trying to fake go against the president, calling it artistic frosting. We over here trying to say the real in a whole different manner. We trying to clean our water. We trying to clean our beaches. We trying to produce more scientists that have knowledge. We coming here for something completely different. Y'all coming here mad. Y'all ain't even moved on from losing. Y'all won and lost. How y'all win and lose? Y'all trying to control both atmospheres. Y'all don't know how to move aside and let the young people who have the intelligence and the brains to push forward. Y'all already done stop too many people. That's what the problem is. Y'all want to stay in control, and y'all need to move out the way. That's my message all the time. So I don't even want to talk about some of these people, but I'm gonna name them off though. Okay, let's continue with the information. I'm gonna try to read all my notes because we did have we actually had a defense of people. We actually had a defense of people that were there for defense, but they were literally yes sir these senators. Like they spoke their piece, and then they started yes sir the senators when they got asked questions, and I left after that because I don't got time for you yes sir and it ain't no reason to yes sir. You come here to defend we the people, not we the senators. We the senators are asking you the questions. This is a false thing to start off with. Somebody said the only person who spoke with some sense was Mr. Glassley, and I'm pretty sure he definitely was part of the watching people burn from a hanging tree. That's how old he is. But this is what. Let me continue what he said. He said he is okay with the Iran war. This is what I got from Senator White House, because this is why he said 13 service members have already lost their lives in the Iran war, meaning on our side. He is supposed to give facts and real information. He and Cruz was so defensive, they took everything personal, seemed like. And White House is looking very frustrated today. They are not thinking about the masses and the whole entire United States. And this is what I got from them. The president. It's not the United States of America, because the president is not in. The president was not in attendance, by the way. I want y'all to know he was not there. Something that is clearly and have that it clearly involved him and all his minions, and they just not prepared. And that's what I wrote when I heard him speak. He actually brought up the attack and riot on the Capitol, which is so irrelevant since they are currently actively using them as ICE agents for protection and order. They're using them for protection and order, and these are the people that were rioting. So they using these people like they the defense, they the control, mob control, but they was the mob just a few minutes ago. You know what I'm saying? They trying to bring stuff up. They crisscross talking. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that point at all. So, I'm gonna just go from there. That's pretty much, it was Grassley, it was Cruz, it was Whitehouse. Those are the three main people that were speaking. I think it was one more guy who spoke. But that's what I got from them. And I'm just gonna read off some of the this is what was said by Mr. Duran, because he came in pretty much about the same as Mr. Grassley, this from a different angle, because he was more on the FBI and Robert Mueller. He's passing away. He was basically he was just, he's a little bit I would say emotional about him passing, and the fact that the president came out and said that he was happy he passed away. And this guy serviced in the Army, and he also had he had a lot of stripes as an army serviceman. Now, it might not be for what everybody believe, but he's a white man in America. I'm not going to mention too many accolades because they have not properly spoken to my grandfather about his accolades and his service on the United States turf and in the United States service, and not being an evil, demonic person, and passing and turning the other way when you try to destroy his family and his wives. So I'm not going to give too much clout about nobody being in the U.S. Army, because y'all are very disrespectful, and y'all be out here propping stupid. Y'all be propping gay soldiers up before y'all come and speak to my grandfather correctly. And I'm sorry about Mr. Rest in peace to Mr. Mueller and his family. This is basically what Mr. Duran, the Senator Duran, was speaking on, because he didn't earn accolades as a serviceman. And I would like to say he also was an FBI agent, which is what his main job was in the Army. I mean, in the on turf, which people could go either way. The FBI disrespected my grandfather, so he probably was the main one going against him. They not that far in age, so he could be the op, the complete op. So I don't know too much. They don't even want me to join the service. They ain't emailed me back. They ain't got back in contact. I'm in Washington D.C. I'm in Maryland. I don't been to all these places. They act like they ain't see me. They act like I'm invisible. So when I come up here, they don't know how to respect the people who here. I'm actually appreciative they allow me to go inside these buildings. I do not get treated improperly. I go in here, I speak to all the secretaries correctly in Virginia and in Florida, and I also I stepped in Nebraska as well. So those are three places that Nebraska was talking correctly about education and transforming programs that I like. So I'm going to try to make my connection with them correctly and properly. And I got to make sure Florida doesn't continue to be slow about going into schools and stealing information and trying to sweep minds and use military tactics to steal intellectual properties from students. So we're going to speak on that. That's what we're talking about. So, and the same thing could go for what else I was talking about? It was Nebraska and Virginia, making sure you properly take care of my great aunt, my grandfather, because of the amount of service that they put in, the disrespect that y'all did to my great grandfather, and all this has to be corrected while I'm alive. And I ain't nowhere near past my youth. So you're going to figure it out one day or the other. And it's like, because y'all sold out so much, and then y'all put up these imaginary borders, and then y'all got somebody selling out to Mexico, all these surrounding areas over there, top of Canada. All these people feel some type of way. It was plenty of people out there in North and South Dakota. All these people are native still, and they all intertwined with the Europeans, and they're not understanding that they're gonna lose their true selves because they're trying to go abide by some kind of Declaration of Independence that was that's only 250 years that the person in command so blatantly says like they wasn't already here, like you don't know your history, like you don't know who got killed off and why you intertwined to stay alive. And some of us ran and hid, and some of us were able to protect ourselves. So you never know. However you go about it, however you dealing with it, we gonna see how it's gonna turn out in this next generation of leaders and athletes and scientists and doctors. Hopefully, you don't go out here trying to poison and killing people in the doctor's office. Hopefully, the science of medicine is correctly and put more natural things in it. They'll kill you if you learn too much or know too much natural things because they want to capitalize on money, and the money is a piece of paper. And that goes right back to what I was saying about the environment, and then people are going green and then trying to code name something about a green issue and turning it into a war issue and turning it into a pointing the finger issue. And we're mad because we didn't get our way issue. So we need to figure out something about disrespecting and keeping things properly done. So we're not gonna speak too much. I kind of went basis, so we're gonna go right into the people that were speaking in defense. It was Will Chamberlain. He spoke first. He's an attorney. A lot of these say is based off. He was speaking so fast, and he's a fast talker, and he's pretty. He probably was the youngest one out of those other two people that was supposed to be in defense, supposedly, but it was all on the same side. He said a lot says based on the phone call taps. This is what he was talking about. A lot was said on the phone call taps with John Smith. What his name is, Mr. Smith, and his attorney. Information against Susie Wiles and her lawyer. He said it may or may not have been illegal phone taps, so it's going to be a question in court about these phone taps, which basically what comes back to what I was saying. They say all this bad stuff, and then boom, we illegally, and it was called the Sentinel. Now, the Sentinel was actually put in the movie, and it's basically how they are controlling people's phones. Like, I don't have so many phones. Like, I'm not going to speak too much because when he started speaking fast and then he mentioned that the Sentinel and then it was illegal that what they actually did. This is basically what they did to me and my big sister. They put a whole bunch of wire bugs in her house with the it was an old radio, and then it was a her 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 stove. They put it in that little slip, that little electric slip right there. They did a lot of evil stuff to me and my sister. So they vapor, all kind of weird and horrific stuff they did to me and my little sister and my big sister down in Florida that they would never probably get in trouble for because it's still a white supremacist Ku Klux Klan territory. They're hiding behind police officer suits, and they're hiding in the judiciary, which is this is what kind of this is what is going on. I can't say it's going to get corrected in my generation. Hopefully, get corrected in my child's second generation when they become full grown adults. But those people are going to wither off and die from the evil, horrific things that they do. So it's not that I did anything. You started with me. You're not built from what I'm built, and that's integrity, and that's respect, and that's truth telling. And whoever did it, I don't know your name. I don't know how imaginary you are still, or if you actually sitting up there behind your badge or your gavel of judgment of position in the world. But I'm not fearful of you, and I don't think my sisters are either. But I don't want nothing to happen to them or my mother. So I'm gonna speak how I speak, and I'm gonna do my service how I'm supposed to do my service. Whatever you try to do to kill me, it made me a little bit stronger. But I'm not as strong. I'm gonna speak I'm gonna speak as real as possible. The stuff that you're doing right now is still illicit, and it's still weird. It's more when I sleep, and it's more about how you attack and you poison the minds of people that's supposed to actually be on my side and help me. But it's okay. I'll figure it out, and I'll work with the youth continuously. I know how to touch the youth. I know how to intertwine with the youth correctly and properly without being a nasty, distasteful adult. So, we're gonna keep it moving. The other person that spoke, I didn't really write down what Miss Cleveland was speaking on. I forgot what her position is. I think she's more on the side of retired. Both of these people retired. Christopher O'Leary and Margaret Cleveland. They were in the defense as well. I didn't write anything down specifically because she was speaking very low and very unconfidently. And then as soon as they started asking her questions, which is the first thing he did was talk to Ted Cruz. You know, their weak tribe of Ku Klux Klan and white supremacy group. Their tactic is always to attack and blame the females, which is the weakest thing you can still do because the next weakest human the next weakest person on earth besides a white male Caucasian is a female. And that is based off y'all genetics. So I don't want y'all to get mad about this. I just speak to some scientists that they'll probably tell you the same thing. And I'm not being disrespectful, no, mentally, not saying that y'all weak. Y'all just genetically not as strong. That's why y'all do a lot of STEM and energy switching, and y'all need our breast milk. Y'all need our all type of energy just to sustain your light in you. So it's more about y'all just being a little bit more respectful, learning how to be appreciative, and let's continue to talk about what Christopher O'Leary was talking about in defense. In his defense, as a former member of the FBI and the defense and a governmental defense organization he was a part of, he said this. This is some of the things, a couple of things he said. The bureau he served they did not have personal obligations or was used for personal ideology. So he basically was saying there was rules and regulations. He didn't have personal ill will, which is kind of one of the only things he said that he was more on the neutral side because these people are still representing the United States. He said that out the gate. Y'all coming over here all defensive and blah blah. And like I said, Ted Cruz right out the gate showed his weak self and go attack the female, and she said yes to everything he said, and which is the issue right now because they don't know how to approach people that are ready to take control and be in power, so our country won't be weak and decimated when they get out of the way and then probably pass along in their later stages of their life. Um, the lack of technology. This is what he said. The lack of technology. He had a discussion with. I think he was talking about with Mueller. It's just basically that it was or one of the people, somebody very important in the FBI is basically the FBI stronghold of the investigation is not being deemed elite anymore because it's not being they're not the top people that figure out the crimes in the United States anymore because it's very lazy. They're behind in technology. Corruption is still out. It's with their corruption allows people to create an avenue so they don't trust, so they don't get the correct person to get take blame for the actual breaking the law, and the FBI used to only take cases that are how do you say that actually it was like a 10 to 30 10 to life type of situation. That's what the type of cases they are, but they have lied so much and there's so many in-house corruptions that nobody in the real world outside of the United States, even in the United States, but nobody respect our bureau really. So and then you come down here, and I hate to say it, it's the same thing. I went to the tax collector place yesterday. I went to the Internal Revenue for my $3,000. They told me they sent my check to my grandfather's house, and then they took my income tax check on I think it was last April. I was like, word. I went over there and checked on him, I'm not looking for him. He had the thing he could put in his account. I don't need it if he got it. That's how I felt. So it's like this lying and this finessing and this scheming. I don't agree with. It's the deceit that they put into my family's life of against me. It's the deceit that it's gonna. I don't want it to tear apart what needs to be done, and which is protecting the elders and the children. And I don't like that energy of them stealing like $250. I was in school, I was in Temple, I was at my grandma, I was knocking on her door every day. And my grandfather was at his house retired and chilling, type of situation. And this was after the fact that they did all this, trying to end their lives early with surgery and all this, trying to make them not feel well and all this, putting their grandkids through turmoil, putting them in prison, you know, trying to see some of their children early. And like I said, my father sending his and my aunt sending early, all kind of stuff that they are done that I'm gonna continue to speak on, that I'm gonna continue to correct. And I'm gonna correct you every time you sit up there and lie through your mouth. So, that's all it is. I don't have much to say. I'm gonna go back in later. I got a dentist appointment, thank God. I see my tooth. I used to, I'm so happy. I had a beautiful smile. I talked about the stories of how I broke them. One was 4 a.m. workout. The other one I was chilling, hanging out with coworkers, and I went home and fell on the stump, and they were literally a tree stump. So I was like, man, that was the stupidest thing. Though both of them was dumb. Like I was chilling, I was hanging out, laughing, being myself, but it was just like one of those things. I'm like, I probably should have just chilled. I probably should have missed that 4 a.m. work. I should have stayed home that day, and I would have had both my teeth. But I got a disappointment at 2:40. I'm about to go. I'm gonna end it today, and I'm trying to catch the late session after the dentist appointment, and I'm outside a little bit later today, so than I am. So I'm happy. I'm in a good spirit. I'm in a good mood, and I appreciate everybody listening. This is Dynasty the Podcast Show. I am your host, Ira Thomas Bush IV, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.